control law has ever been proven to reduce crime. On the grill tonight, the author of the provocatively titled Emily Gets a Gun, but Obama Wants to Take Yours. Emily Miller, how are you?
Good to be here, Piers.
There's a charming image of you with clutching your gun there.
It's my SIG.
Right. Now, here's the thing that I find interesting about you. So your view of guns apparently changed in this pivotal moment in your life when you had a home invasion. Tell me what happened.
Well, I've always been pro-Second Amendment. I'm a conservative, so I've always been pro-Second Amendment in theory. But I walked in, I was dog sitting for friends and walked in, and there's this thug in there stealing. And long story short, he got away, but outside there's like 15 of his buddies. And when I went to bed that night after the police had come and, you know, dusted fingerprints, the thing they were most worried about was these guys were going to come back, leave a window open. It was a big house. And so that's the first time in my life I thought, what am I going to do if these guys come in my house? How am I going to defend myself?
How did you defend yourself against that one guy?
I talked him out. He stole my wallet.
Why would you prefer to shoot him?
I wouldn't prefer to shoot him. I would never prefer to shoot someone. I hope I never have to. But if 15 guys on drugs coming back into the house, God knows if they're going to rape or kill me.
But only one actually came in, and you actually fended him off with a camera.
And I followed him down the street.
You were armed with a camera.
I got really blessed and lucky.
Or you actually did what happens in most civilized countries of the world, where most homes don't have loads of guns, and actually most intrusions like that do not end in somebody being shot.
Actually, 2 million times a year, that's the estimate, 2 million times a year guns are used to prevent crimes and defensive moves. So that's what I would hope.
I keep hearing this figure, 2 million times a year in America, and yet I never read any examples. Where are they?
Well, if you read, if you read the sources,
Emily?
Well, you don't read the Washington Times, clearly, because you'd read my stories.
You're telling me that 2 million times a year, Americans using guns fend off intruders. And yet I've only ever been sent on Twitter, and trust me, the gun advocates are not slow on the uptake here. I probably get sent one example every 3 weeks.
Well,
where are all these things happening?
Well, obviously there's a bias in the liberal media against showing these kinds of stories. They don't believe.
So is every paper in America liberal media?
Not my paper, Washington Times. I publish stories all the time of positive gun ownership when people use guns to stop crimes. And I would hope, God willing, if it ever happens to me, that's what will happen, is they will leave because they see a gun, they see that I'm armed, they see that I will use it, they will leave or they will surrender.
See, my argument is that where there are more guns, there is actually more likelihood of a gun being used. And call me old-fashioned in that theory, but there was this heartbreaking case a couple of days ago of an 18-year-old who, for a prank in a family home with a family friend who'd been staying there, hid in the closet and jumped out to surprise him. He happened to be carrying a gun, and because he was startled, he killed her with the gun. Well, that simply wouldn't happen in countries where you're not just overrun with everybody feeling.
Well, what about the machete? The guy in England who killed the guy with the machete. I mean, people are violent. Now, accidental deaths is a different issue. I don't get that too much in my book because there's about 700 people a year. It's not that frequent of a crime. It obviously catches people's attention because you think, oh God, I hope I don't ever do that. But the bigger picture is there has never been proven, whether it's the government CDC study, Harvard study, that all these gun control laws that I hear you advocate all the time, they don't prevent violence or decline in violence. And that's what we all want to do, is decrease violence, make our children safer, make ourselves safer, make our cities safer.
But what they do is they dramatically reduce gun crime.
No, they do not. Gun crime has gone down 40% in the past 20 years, while gun ownership has skyrocketed. There's over 300 million guns. As gun ownership has gone like this, gun crime has gone like this. Whereas in England, gun crime, after the ban, went like this, and then started going down. There is no parallel between there is no parallel between gun ownership and gun crime.
Well, actually, gun crime in Britain, as you rightly said, after the Dunblane massacre, when they brought in new gun control laws, it went up for the next 5 years as they all came into effect. They then made them twice as hard and said we're going to start jailing people for 5 years for possession of a handgun, and every single year since then, since 2003, it has gone down significantly.
As it has the United States, while gun ownership is through the roof here.
What about Iowa? Iowa wants to give gun permits to legally blind people, and indeed has been doing that, including a number of people who are not allowed to drive because they are so blind.
What's a state's issue? So there's no federal ban on that. And I know a lot of these disability groups want to say you can't take away their Second Amendment rights because they're blind. So it's a complicated issue. It's really, I mean, there's no...
Emily, they're blind.
I don't want...
These people are blind. I interviewed Stevie Wonder. He said to me, can you imagine I'm allowed to go and buy guns? Can you imagine me with a gun? It is utterly ridiculous, Emily.
But here's the thing.
There's you with your lovely gun. You want to get your gun. Obama doesn't want to take your gun away. He wants to stop people killing each other,
He doesn't
right?
care about the blind
now
people.
we've got people in Iowa who are blind applying for weapons, and they're allowed to have them because it's their right. No, it's not.
Can I talk?
Yes.
Once we start having cases of blind people going around shooting people, we can come back and have that debate.
You don't think that's going to happen?
It hasn't happened
blind
yet.
people are going to accidentally shoot people?
It's been fully legal in most states right now, and they're not doing it because gun owners are responsible. We take training responsibility, we take storage
So
responsibility.
let me get that with you straight. You actually think that we can have responsible blind gun owners?
Let me tell you why.
Yes or no?
I went with yes.
Unbelievable, Emily.
Let me tell you why. You can rack a shotgun, never shoot it, scare the hell out of the criminal. Am I allowed to say hell? I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you can say hell.
Maybe they beeps me back in the control room. But anyway, I went with 2 blind people down to the DC police to see what happens if they did, because you have to be legally blind. You have to take a vision test in DC, because it took me 4 months to get a legal gun. You would love DC. 17 steps and 4 guns.
I actually do love DC. I love America. My problem is not with America or Americans or, in fact, any of your magnificent states. My problem is with the gun lobby saying it's perfectly okay for legally blind people to be marching around with guns.
The gun lobby.
It is ridiculous.
Well, the gun lobby's not doing that. It's the disability groups who are actually the ones advocating for this, and because they say, why should they not be allowed to have guns? That's not my.
Emily gets her gun, but Obama wants to take yours. Emily Miller, the senior editor of the Washington Times. Good to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
I look forward to your Twitter following, giving me a hard time for the next 3 weeks, and we'll be right back.